The day the settler woman stepped onto the edge of the ranch, the wind carried more than dust across the plains. It carried a truth that had followed her entire life, heavy as her body and heavier than her shame. The rancher saw her first as a shadow against the burning afternoon sun, a wide figure clutching a worn sack to her chest, hesitating as if the land itself might reject her. He did not yet know that in her heart lived a sentence she had repeated so many times it felt carved into her bones, that no one ever loved a woman like her. And he did not know that this meeting, born of desperation, would quietly change both of them forever. Before the story truly begins, take a moment. If you believe kindness still matters in this world, if you believe people deserve second chances no matter how broken they feel, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The woman had come from the settlement beyond the ridge, a place built by tired hands and broken dreams. Life there was survival, not living. She had been unwanted since childhood, mocked for her size, dismissed as lazy even when her hands bled from work. Men looked past her as if she were invisible, and women whispered that she would die alone. Food had been her comfort and her curse, and cooking, quiet, careful, full of heart, was the only thing that ever made her feel useful. When drought struck the settlement and mouths outnumbered grain sacks, the elders decided there were some people they could afford to lose. She was one of them. So she walked. She walked until her feet blistered and the horizon wavered like a mirage. She walked with only a sack of spices, a dented pan, and the belief that if she could just feed someone, maybe she could earn the right to exist. By the time she reached the ranch fence, her legs shook and her courage thinned. The ranch was known for its harsh owner, a man who had buried his softness with his wife years ago, and replaced it with routine, discipline, and silence. He ran cattle, not a charity. Everyone knew that. The rancher had not planned to stop that day. He had been riding the boundary lines, counting losses from the last storm, his mind fixed on numbers and repairs. When he noticed the woman, his first instinct was irritation. Strays, human or animal, usually brought trouble. Yet something in the way she stood, head lowered, hands clenched like a child waiting for punishment, slowed him. He dismounted, dust settling around his boots, and assessed her without kindness or cruelty, just tired neutrality. She did not beg. That surprised him. Instead, she explained her worth the only way she knew how, shrinking herself even further by listing her flaws before anyone else could. She spoke of how people saw her, how love had never found her, how she understood if he said no. All she offered was work, not strength, not beauty, only food, prepared with care. In her mind, cooking was not a skill. It was her last defense against disappearing. The rancher listened, arms crossed, jaw tight. He had heard desperation before. What unsettled him was how familiar it felt. After his wife died in childbirth, the ranch had filled with silence so loud it rang in his ears. He had thrown himself into labor, into routine, into anything that kept him from acknowledging how unloved he felt by life itself. Looking at the woman, he saw a different shape of the same loneliness. He did not soften immediately. He tested her resolve by offering conditions no one else would accept. Long hours, minimal pay, isolation in a cookhouse far from the main home. She accepted without hesitation. Gratitude flooded her face so quickly it almost embarrassed him. He told himself it was practical. Ranch hands needed feeding. A cook was useful. That was all. The first weeks passed quietly. The woman rose before dawn, her body aching but determined. She cooked stews thick with care. Bread that smelled like warmth. Meals that filled more than stomachs. The ranch hands noticed first. Men hardened by sun and loss lingered longer at the table. Complaints faded. Even laughter returned in small, cautious doses. The rancher observed this from a distance, annoyed at how the atmosphere shifted without his permission. Yet something else changed too. He began to notice how she moved, careful not to take space, apologizing with her posture, flinching when voices rose even in humor. She ate alone, after everyone else, scraping leftovers into her bowl as if she did not deserve more. Once he saw her crying silently over a burned pot, not because of the food, but because failure felt like confirmation of everything she believed about herself. Winter crept in early that year. A sickness followed. One by one, ranch hands fell ill, fevered and weak. The rancher himself collapsed one night, stubbornness finally surrendering to exhaustion. It was the woman who stayed awake through the night, cooling his forehead, feeding him broth, watching his breathing with a fear she did not fully understand. Caring for him felt different than cooking for strangers. It felt like purpose. As he recovered, something inside him cracked. Vulnerability, long buried, surfaced in quiet moments. He began to see her not as a burden or utility, but as a presence that steadied the ranch. He noticed the way she hummed while cooking, how the animals seemed calmer near her, how the land itself felt less hostile. Still, he said nothing. Old grief does not loosen its grip easily. Trouble came when visitors arrived, wealthy buyers, polished and sharp-eyed. They noticed her immediately, not for her food, but for her body. Snide comments drifted through the air like poison. Old wounds reopened. She shrank back into herself, convinced once again that she did not belong anywhere. Beauty was currency. The rancher watched this unfold, anger simmering beneath his calm. When one buyer suggested she was an embarrassment, something snapped. He defended her, not loudly, not theatrically, but firmly. The kind of defense that draws a line and dares anyone to cross it. The buyers left earlier than planned. The rancher stood alone afterward, realizing he had chosen a side without consciously meaning to. That night the woman packed her things. Shame told her she was a liability. She believed she had overstayed her welcome, that kindness had an expiration date. When the rancher found her at dawn, bags in hand, the fear in her eyes was unmistakable. She expected dismissal. What she received instead was acknowledgement, not of her cooking, not of her usefulness, but of her humanity. From that moment, the dynamic shifted. She began to eat at the table. She laughed, hesitant at first, then freer. The rancher found himself looking forward to meals, to shared silences, to the sound of another person existing near him. He started repairing more than fences. He repaired rooms, opened windows, let light return to the house. The settlement heard rumors. A woman like her, valued, loved? It sounded impossible. Yet when drought worsened, and families came seeking help, the ranch did not turn them away. The woman cooked more than ever, her food becoming a symbol of refuge. She no longer cooked to earn love, she cooked because she had it. As seasons turned, so did hearts. Love did not arrive like a thunderclap. It grew slowly, like grass after fire. The rancher learned that attraction was not about size or shape, but about presence, care, and the courage to stay. The woman learned that worth was not measured by how small she could make herself, but by how fully she allowed herself to be seen. Just before the ending, I want to ask you something special. Please comment below and tell us what this story made you feel, or who it reminded you of. Your words matter more than you know. Near the end of her first full year on the ranch, she stood on the porch watching the sun sink into the land that had once terrified her. She was no longer a whisper at the edge of someone else's life. She was home. And the rancher, standing beside her, finally understood the reply he had given without words all along. Love was never about perfection. It was about choosing someone, again and again, even when the world said they were unlovable. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel seen or reminded you that kindness can rewrite a life, please like this video, share it, and stay with us by subscribing. Sometimes the stories we need most are the ones that tell us we were never too much, only waiting to be loved.